little bit amount of fun I think that we're allowed to have after more than 2 weeks now of reporting on this horrific tragedy. The release of Killers of the Flower Moon. And the inspiration for this, Ryan, is that it is one of the biggest search terms amongst our audience.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I was shocked by as to the level of interest. Yeah, not even just about that. It was like Killers of the Flower Moon Breaking Points review or something like that.
You're like, all right, give the people what they want.
I said, okay, all right, well, we will give the people what they want. So I had the privilege of being able to see the movie on Thursday, the day before.
You can expense that now.
It is, yeah, I guess I can. It is very long. It's long. So before I get to the actual review, let's give some of the details. That was a still from there. This movie is getting a significant amount of demand. We could put this up there on the screen. It's earned $44 million at the global box office over the weekend, actually topping the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, which I also did see. I can give you a separate review of that one. Impressively, if they say 46% of the opening night audience for Flower Moon was under the age of 35. One of the reasons I think that's really interesting is, and I do see this actually, a willingness for people who are younger, people like myself, to actually try and fulfill the legacy of what Scorsese wants, to get back to the pictures, to indulge in the art, to really understand the message that he was going for. This movie is 3 hours and 30-something minutes long, and I will say, it's long. It's a long movie. And it's not in a bad way. It's a very long one. Our producer, Griffin, he's a big film guy. He was like, man, they really need to bring back intermissions. I could not agree more. Bollywood movies, if you ever have to watch them, have intermissions, and they're great. You get to go to the bathroom. If something's gonna be 4 hours long, you don't wanna be sitting in the chair. With previews, it was about a 4-hour experience, and I went at 7 p.m., so you can do the math. Stayed up well past my bedtime for that one. In terms of the movie itself, the way I've been describing it to everybody, I think the movie is a masterpiece. I think it's absolutely worth seeing. It is multiple movies and stories within one, and I think that's one of the genius of Scorsese. It is both this horrific tragedy of these Osage Indians, the way that they were treated there at the time. They're some of the richest people in the world, and yet they have very little agency over their lives. They're being attacked. They're being murdered in this case, for their money. They're viewed as completely as second-class citizens, but it's also a true crime story within that, the story of the solving of the spate of murders and who was behind it. And then it's a human story. It's a romantic story in some cases, where you have this dichotomy of like this man who appears to love his wife, but at the same time is, embroiled in this plot. By the way, spoiler alert, embroiled in this plot in order to murder her and all of her relatives. It's excruciating, honestly. And I mean that in the best of terms for a movie where you just feel so physically uncomfortable. When people have been asking me about how what it's like, I've been saying it's like watching Schindler's List, where the first time you watch it, you know that you are watching a masterpiece. You are very upset. How many times are you really going to watch it in your life? Probably not many, maybe 3, maybe 4, right? And every time you need a reminder of just how horrible the Holocaust was, or, it's very rare that the stars align, that you want to sit and you want to watch that movie and go through it again. That's a lot what it was like for me. It was just so brutal and difficult to sit there. And the thing is about the runtime of the movie is he's got enough time where you're in it. You're feeling like the imagery of the Osage people and how they're just being brutalized by the people around them and their senses of grief. You're in it. The lead actress, Lily Gladstone, she's incredible. I mean, we're watching this woman agonize and get on the verge of death as she both is in love with her husband, but then doesn't understand that she's being slowly murdered by him. And then the sheer evil of all the people around who are taking advantage of the situation. So just sitting and dwelling in that, it is really uncomfortable. And look, that's the mark of a great filmmaker, but that's my my overall take. I think it's a great movie. I encourage everybody to go see it. And I really encourage people to read the book. It was one of the most popular books in the United States in the last decade. Everybody I know has read it, from people who usually only read fiction to people like me who read tons of books a year. And it's a great story. The author, David Grann, is one of my favorites. He wrote Lost City of Z, one of my favorite books.
That's incredible.
He's a New Yorker staff writer. That man knows storytelling more than anyone else I know. So anyway, that's my take for the YouTube search algorithm. You now have my review.
I want to hear and let's give him a little history too.
Sure. No, you do it. Yeah,
this is, and I haven't seen the movie yet. I can't wait to see it. I've been eagerly anticipating the moment where I'll have 4 hours, and I don't know when that's going to be, but I hope it's before it leaves the theater. But basically, so the situation you had is that the Osage wind up on this massive reservation in Oklahoma, and then after that, so late 1890s is when oil is discovered there, and the oil economy really starts blowing up in the late 19th century, early 20th century, and like the tech economy, it converts anybody who's in the right place at the right time into contemporary billionaires, the equivalent of billionaires. And everywhere that you had oil discovered, particularly around Native American reservations, you'd see massive violence to try to displace them from their rights over that oil. Or if it were, let's say, poor white settlers, like in some ways, it's almost easier because at least the kind of Osage had legal kind of tribal, contractual claims that courts and Congress were willing to uphold. So that's why so much violence was needed, because you couldn't kind of go through the courts or buy them out or trick them. So that it wasn't just the Osage, so many other places you had to, they just were then killed just to move them out of the way. And so it's kind of representative, it's an amazing story in its own right, but it's representative of a bigger trend that we saw unfolding at that
absolutely.
At that time.
And I think Scorsese takes immense lengths to, he even puts himself in the movie, interesting plot twist, near the end, in order to just try. I think the key thing, based upon everything that I've read, is in the beginning, the script was a lot like the book. The book is the story of the solving of these murders. Right. But the more that they went through it, they realized in this small scene between the husband and the wife they were like, no, that's the core of the story. It's a love story. And through that love story, in this screwed up way where this man loves his wife, but he's also exploiting his wife, and he's trying to steal her money, he's trying to murder her, he's complicit in the murders of her entire family, is the humanity and the inhumanity of that is the story itself. And then you build the crime on top of it. And what he tried to do is he tried to show the humanity of the Osage Indians, and at every turn, the way that they were discriminated against, and even in their riches, that they were, humiliated, they were treated as second class by the government, by the law authorities, by all the men around them who were managing their money on their behalf, and basically just blood-sucking leeches that viewed them as an avenue to get rich, as not as fellow human beings. And I think he dwells and he spends a lot of time in that for good reason, because by doing that, the true crime part of it, it's great. It's a fun detective story. I think Jesse Plemons does a great job doing in that role. But I didn't even see him until 2 hours in. Right. And I spent 2 hours. I spent a whole movie just sitting there being like, oh my God, like this is horrible, and just watching this over and over again. And Leo does his best when he's like likable, playing dumb, but also a real companion to evil. De Niro is like absolutely top tier in this. He's like 10 out of 10 in his performance in this. I can't think of a single bad performance. There was a lot of interesting cameos. Jason Isbell is in there, like the country singer makes a role. He does a pretty good job, actually. I enjoyed his performance. Over and over again, it just highlights this consistent theme of the Osage getting taken advantage of. And I think he did a good job of memorializing the story and just highlighting the immense injustice done to them as a people. Not just, the story of this family is the story of the people. And that's a great part of the book, too. And it actually ends it ends highlighting their plight, what happened to them, but then their resilience through the last 100 years as well, holding on to their identity.
You buried the lead here. What about the Eras Tour?
Oh, the Eras Tour.
How was that?
The Eras Tour it's honestly the Eras Tour is too long.
I saw that my bunch of neighborhood folks brought a bunch of kids to it.
I was going to say, I enjoyed
it
for that reason, for people like your daughters, is that it was just really fun to watch these like 8-year-old girls just lose their mind. I was like, you know what? This is adorable. I'm like, these kids are having so much fun. I went because my fiance is like a massive Taylor Swift fan. And so I was like, okay, we'll go and we'll check it out. We didn't go to the concert. And so I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I will say I thought it was too long. It's too long. It's funny because it's an hour shorter than Killers of the Flower Moon. But the thing is that if you're not one of those little girls who's getting up and who's dancing the entire time, you're just sitting watching a concert for 2 hours and 45 minutes, and you're not participating in the concert. And I think if you were there, some of the parts of the show which dragged would have been fine.
Right.
I'm not a big Evermore guy. Or what's the other one? Folklore? Is that the album? Okay, there you go. See, my music listening basically stopped like 2016. So for me, it was fun. You get to sing "You Belong with Me" and all the other ones that are like key parts of your child, "Feeling 22," all these other songs from your young adulthood. But after a while, when you get to the songs that you don't necessarily know as well, you're not even participating in the crowd. You're just sitting in a movie theater. So for me, that's where it really dragged. I never felt like Killers dragged at all, but I felt like a good portion of the Taylor show dragged. And for me, what did you think? I'm thinking like 30, 45 minutes.
I got up and danced because otherwise I wouldn't have made it.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the way to get to get through it, and that made it like a deeply enjoyable experience. And you're right. It's infectious to see the kids just having so much fun.
Even just sitting there and watching these kids have fun, I had a good time. I mean, just these kids are like running back and forth, they're screaming,
waving around their little
waving their
batons
thing. It was amazing to watch, and I think it did make me wish that I had gone to the concert because, again, I'm like a casual fan when you put me up against some of these like Swiftie girls. But that doesn't mean, though, that just being in that environment isn't deeply infectious. So if you have kids, specifically little girls, and they like Taylor Swift, definitely go do it. It's totally worth your time.
My son, like 20 minutes in, he's like, get me out of here, man.
Really?
I was like, you got to dance, and he danced, and he got into it.
All right, I think I saw two boys dancing. So yeah, there's something for everybody there, if you want. All right, that was a good way to end the show. It was actually fun to talk about something lighthearted. For once, you guys are gonna have Counterpoints tomorrow.
Oh, I have another plug.
Oh, go ahead.
November 27th, Crystal and I will be at Politics and Prose in D.C. For my book, The Squad, which is coming out around that time. So Crystal's gonna like do the Q&A thing that you do at the book talk. So
wow, Politics and Prose. Ryan's truly made it. If you don't
that's
know,
right.
in Washington, that is the mark of a true member of the establishment.
There you go.
We will do a far more official announcement and promotion, my friend, so don't worry. But people will put that on their calendars. It was always great to co-host a show with you, Ryan, and we will see you all later.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.